Welcome back to the show. Today we have a special guest, DJ Fuller. I met her from surfing at the beach. She's friends with some of my friends who surf there, so we got along right away. We talked about yoga and we were talking in Sanskrit right away to each other. And so I invited her on the show to share her story of how she became a yoga teacher and an empowered woman. So welcome to the show.
Hi.
So you just rode your motorcycle to California from Ohio, is that right?
I towed it.
You towed it.
Yeah,
You didn't ride it all the way.
Not ride it. I towed it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Motorcycle trailer.
How long does it take to drive here?
36 hours.
And you did it straight? You rested?
I rested. Yeah.
Like a whole day? Where'd you stop?
No, just places like along the way, wherever. Different states.
That's a long drive.
It was fun.
What's Ohio like?
Where I live is very fun. Very eccentric. University town. I live in Athens, Ohio. Shout out, whoop whoop. So it's a pretty eclectic place where I live. People are open-minded there. Ohio itself can have different areas, just like California, that are closed or open. I happen to live in a pretty open bohemian town.
So they're open to yoga in Athens, Ohio.
Yeah, lots of yoga in Athens, Ohio.
How far away is that from like Cincinnati?
Well, Columbus is the biggest city.
Okay.
So it's an hour and a half from Columbus toward West Virginia. So it's southeast Ohio.
So do they have a really big drug epidemic problem there?
Opiates.
And in Athens too?
In Athens and in Ohio in
general, right?
Yeah, because they had pain management places, and then they closed them down, so people could not get their pain management, and they switched to heroin and opiate
because
drugs.
It's cheaper than OxyContin.
Well, yeah, and also because they could get it where they couldn't go to the doctor and get any relief anymore, what they got put on in the first place, you know.
So it's just very available.
Very available.
Because I've never even seen heroin actually in California in my whole life.
No, yeah.
So, yeah, that's crazy. So you're from California though?
Yes, born and raised in San Fernando Valley, Woodland Hills.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to high school at El Camino Rio High School and Miguel Leones, and then Thoreau.
Okay, so you went around a little bit.
I went to the main high school and then the continuation schools.
So
I was a rebel.
A rebel Buddha.
A rebel Buddha in the making.
Nice. Yeah, we didn't know we were rebel Buddhas until years later.
Yeah.
We were just rebels that became Buddhas.
Yeah, yeah.
So you were just a straight Valley girl.
Yeah, OG Valley girl.
And why'd you go to Ohio?
Ohio was not the first place on the list. I moved all over the United States. I've lived in lots of different places, and I would always come back to California in between moving. I lived in Oregon for 16 years. And then felt like it was time to go again. And a friend of mine from California lives in Ohio and had a home for sale. And I thought, living next door to one of my best friends, yeah. So,
and you never lived in Ohio before?
No, I didn't even know where it was. I was like,
you're like, all right.
I was like, I had to look on a map. I was like, oh, there it is. And I went, and it was beautiful. And
you're happy with your choice?
Yeah, it's foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. I opened my front door to deer and turkey, rabbits.
So you're in the country.
I am in the country.
Mm-hmm. Far out.
It feels far out, but yeah. I mean, it's all of that area is all wilderness, pretty much. So I'm 12 miles from town, but it's not a city, it's a town.
With how many people?
Couldn't even tell you. Lots. It's a university town.
Okay, yeah. So there's like at least like 80,000 people.
Yeah, there's
so it's big.
Many. Yeah.
Okay. But I think of like everywhere else outside of California as being so far and small.
Yeah.
But there's still lots and lots of people.
Yeah, lots and lots. It's like the town itself is small, but like that, you're like, where did all these people come from? There's so many people in this little tiny. Because growing up in LA,
right?
There's people on top of people, so you know they're there. Yeah.
And then homeless people underneath them.
Yeah, and then there, it's like there's the town, and there's so many people. I mean, at Halloween, we have one of the biggest Halloween parties in the United States is in Athens, Ohio. And it looks like Mardi Gras, and most of those people live there. You're like, where do these people come from? Because you don't see their houses.
They all come out of the woodwork.
They just come out of the mountains. Yeah.
Interesting. I thought it was so random that Dave Chappelle lived in Ohio. Like, why did he choose to live in Ohio?
It's really beautiful. It's kind of the hidden jewel of the United States.
Is
People
it?
Don't, yeah. And a lot of things, if you start looking at where things are manufactured, they're manufactured in Ohio. It's really big place.
Okay, so that's what everyone's doing. They're working in the
A lot,
factories.
yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of work there.
In different areas, yeah. Not in all areas.
So how did you get into yoga?
Well, I've done yoga on and off. I'm an OG Valley girl. Yoga
Okay.
came into the gyms. Everybody became popular, and you went to yoga. You wore your cute little yoga
When
clothes.
was this?
80s.
In the 80s?
mid-80s,
And you
yeah.
wore like the leotard with the half.
Over.
Over.
You wore the leotard over your
That is
shiny
the most
leggings.
interesting look
Yes.
because it has a thong and your
Yes.
ass is like totally.
And it was cute.
But that was like socially acceptable.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about this look because I'm really into fashion and this look is the most. It's insane.
Yeah.
Because it's back in the like if you wore that to class now, it's almost unacceptable.
Right.
But it was a thing that everyone did.
Yeah.
Like that's.
It was for aerobics, jazzercising, yoga.
But even like people who weren't in
The
shape were
gym.
doing that.
Yeah.
It was just like everything was on display.
Yeah.
So weird.
It was fun.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't mind.
No, yeah. But I mean, people wore thong bathing suits, T-back bathing suits to Malibu when I was younger. It wasn't.
But let's talk about the thong. Okay, so it was socially acceptable in the 80s because it was like really high. It was like went up the
Brazilian
back,
cut, yeah,
right?
European.
And then like in the 90s, it was gone. It was like
Everything
it was like a diaper,
Yep.
right? It became like a diaper bikini. And then later, only in the last, since like 2017, maybe since Instagram started, the thong is okay again.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah. It disappeared. Even French cut bathing suits, the really high bathing suits that came up over the hips for women disappeared. Board shorts, like boys didn't wear shorts that came down to their knees to the beach. When
No, it was like
growing up, they were shorts.
Oh,
like,
they were shorts?
Yeah, they wore normal shorts with the whole thigh showed. I mean, they were shorts. They surfed in shorts.
And then the 90s, like everything got longer and lame. Like I know all the boys at the beach, they like below knee shorts.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, that's whack, you guys. Like it looks like a bro San Diego frat. Like I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You can't. You gotta wear a short. It can't be too low.
Well, our bathing suits were influenced by European style because before that we had the big, everything was high-waisted, and then we had the 70s where it was a little bit more low-waisted, but it was still really thick sides, and the big butts, cover the entire glute.
They just covered the whole glute.
Back in the 70s.
So boring.
And then it just kind of started shifting, and I think Bo Derek
Who's that?
Fawcett. Bo Derek, like an actress.
That's a woman.
Her up. It's a woman. She was
Well,
like
before
one
my
of the
time.
most beautiful women ever.
I know who Farrah Fawcett is. So
Farrah Fawcett, all those like Cheryl Teague, all those women were wearing more revealing bathing suits, and it became like everybody wanted to look like that. You wanted your feathered hair and your cute little bathing suit.
And then who's the other that person who like did the cardio aerobics videos? Who's that?
Jane Fonda.
Jane Fonda. Then she
Jane
was wearing
Fonda,
those that stuff too.
Absolutely. And
With the leotard.
she's still fit, man. That woman is
She's
still
still
fit.
alive.
Yeah.
I need to look her up again too.
Yeah, she's so fit.
So then everyone in the 80s was having their
Bandanas.
bandana,
That I never
the
understood.
sweatband
Yeah.
with the sweat things, and they had their leotard and the knee. What is that? Like a knee
The
knee warmers. Or
leg warmers.
Leg warmers. Yeah, so
Oh,
that was
I
the
love
outfit.
it. Yeah, leg warmers.
And then everyone went to yoga, and there was still no dudes doing yoga at the time. Pretty much it was all women.
No, actually. I mean, yoga was really big here.
Okay.
Movie stars were doing it because you have Yogananda's church in Los
SRF.
Angeles.
Self-realization fellowship.
Yeah.
So if
So
it became
there
popular
were-
with the celebrities.
Right. And yoga
Like
asana
who?
was only I can't remember. There was one basketball player he was really into, and I can't remember his name.
The tall, skinny guy, the really cream and jeweled bar.
No, I don't know.
Because he did Ashtanga. And Marilyn Monroe did yoga.
Yeah.
And my teacher, Jorgen Christensen, he taught Madonna and
Yeah.
other people.
Well, there was a big thing with yoga and famous people. I mean, so they were doing it. But they weren't just doing asana. They were doing meditation, and they were trying to follow
Like the Beatles.
Yeah, they're from Europe. I mean, they have a whole different culture in Europe.
So you think that the celebrities made it appealing to the mainstream to like, I want to do yoga too, or everyone
I
was
think
still
that in
doing
Los
it
Angeles,
in LA?
everything, yeah, in Los Angeles, I think, especially back then, our culture was, we're pop culture, we're totally influenced. Not as, I mean, still today, but back then, I mean, boy, you saw something in a movie, it was less available. TV was less available. We didn't have 135 million channels to choose from.
Well,
at
everyone
any
has their own
time.
channel now, even
Yeah,
myself.
yeah. But back then we had TV came on and went off.
Right, and you
know,
couldn't tape it or
Yeah,
film it or anything.
yeah.
Like, there was no, you couldn't even
You
take
had
a
to
picture.
wait like years for a movie to come out on a VHS. It wasn't like now it's going to be out in 2 weeks, you know, or something.
So did you ever have like practice yoga with people on TV?
No, I practiced yoga with my aunt who was in, like, she is a musician and she wasn't famous, but she was a musician and she hung out with like Jimmy Seals and some of those people, and they were Baha'i faith, but they did asana practice and meditation.
I've been to the Baha'i Faith Temple in India.
Yeah.
It was really big.
And they're beautiful. It's a beautiful practice.
It was like
beautiful
a lotus
philosophy.
flower building.
Yeah. So when I was younger, I went with her to some of the parties and some of the things, and they practiced asana and pranayama and meditation.
The Baha'i church.
They were gatherings for the Baha'i faith.
Okay.
Yeah, and they were, and I went with her to their parties, and
they're not really around in California anymore.
which is crazy because it was here.
It was huge,
It was
at one
huge,
time.
huge
And I
here,
wonder what
yeah,
happened to them.
Yeah, it's
Because there's like a part of the freeway signs like says like this freeway is sponsored by the Baha'i Faith,
yeah.
and I'm like don't even see it at all. There's like nothing.
That's interesting
about that.
because that was like a lot of musicians that my aunt hung out with in the 70s and 80s that were kind of the rock and roll, more
New age people hung
more
out
rock.
with them.
Yeah, I mean, Crosby, Stills and Nash. I mean, they're Baha'i faith. So they like, I was part of her world, and so I was introduced to that, which was great. I loved it.
And then you got really into Iyengar yoga.
Well, I accidentally got into
How did that
Iyengar
happen?
yoga. So I am a certified trauma release provider through exercise, and my teacher says, I told her I wanted to do a yoga teacher training, and she says, oh, you should come to mine. I said, okay. I didn't even ask what kind. I didn't anything. And I was kind of like the rest of the population. I think a lot of people don't know there's a separation
Right.
of yoga.
Yeah, they
And
just don't
I was just
know.
like, it's yoga.
Right.
It's all encompassing. It's going to look the same.
Right.
And I went to training, and I think it was like probably the third month. I'm like, this is really hard. And when are we going to start doing flow? And she looked at me and said, Iyengar, look him up.
Yeah. She didn't even know. You didn't even know what you were practicing.
No, had no idea, but I had 23 anatomy books.
Through the training.
Yes, for the training.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
When was that?
Maybe 4 years ago, 4.5, 5 years ago, yeah.
Okay.
But when I got on the rail for it, I got on the rail, and I did I went to every training, everything I could do. Yeah.
Wow. So, you before you took your Iyengar training, what were you practicing?
Just vinyasa.
Okay, just regular.
Or restorative or whatever class. I've done yoga on and off since I was a teenager, and I'm turned 50 in a couple of months. That's a long time, right, to practice yoga and not even know what I'm doing. And I think that's the thing that I keep in mind when I work with people, is that I went to yoga forever and had no idea
What you were doing.
what I was doing. I just was doing this physical movement, or I was whatever I was.
You didn't know about the traditions and stuff.
No idea about lineage.
Okay.
None.
It seems like that's how most people are.
Yeah. And so I keep that in mind when I work with people. They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care. They just want to do their practice.
That's so weird. It's the most strange thing to me, because if I'm going to go take class with someone or practice somewhere, it has to be the top person at the top studio,
Yeah.
at the top place, or I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'm a yoga snob or something, but I've taught 11,000 yoga classes. I've
Yeah.
been practicing for thousands and thousands and thousands of hours, that I'm not going to waste my time. Like, for instance, I took a class at the BKS Iyengar Institute in LA on La Cienega on Tuesday morning because I was teaching at LA Fitness across the street, so I wanted to get there early. And there was only 3 people in the class, which I didn't understand. I'm like, this is the coolest one of the coolest places to
You're
practice
right.
in LA if you're going to practice Iyengar. And I didn't get why the class was so small and the teacher was so great. And then I went to go teach my class literally across the hall, and there's like 37 people
Yeah.
in a cold room, and they've never met me before. I'm just like, you guys, if you went across the hall, you could have the most amazing experience. I can still help them and give them a great yoga experience, but they're almost afraid of tradition.
Yeah, well, and they don't understand. Like, I tell people my lineage is my teachers' teachers, and my teachers are some of the best in the world.
Yeah.
And people don't care.
They don't care.
And it's not that they don't care, they're not invested in that, because yoga isn't a way of living. It's part of their, like, I went to yoga, I went to the gym, I went...
For them.
Yes.
For
people
the regular,
that decide
mainstream.
that yoga is their lifestyle.
Right.
They start researching and investigating and looking.
Researching
it becomes
is the
your
best
practice.
word. Right.
It's self-study, right? To take a class with someone is self-study.
But it's so much easier to go take a class, for instance, at like Bikram or Core Power, where you can zone out. You don't have to think about anything, and it's just like a club vibe.
Yeah.
A club vibe, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like almost in a social atmosphere, rather than if you go to a Ashtanga or a Iyengar, it's very quiet, it's introspective, everyone knows what they're doing. It's very intimidating. But these other places are so, I would say, I don't want to use the word user-friendly, but I like to use the word convenient. And so it's convenient for them, and it's just part of the membership or something.
Yes, and they already know the word. They already know it's a label, it's a brand.
Right, so it's
So it's a brand.
Yes,
it's like I was talking about driving across the United States. I was telling my friend, we're driving across the United States. I said, you know what I miss? Because I've been driving back and forth across the United States since I was a teenager.
Wow.
And then I started doing it on my own at 18. I love to travel. I love to explore the roads. And I said, back when I was younger, you would go into the state of Texas and you couldn't wait to go through Houston to go to that mom and pop barbecue place that didn't exist anywhere else.
And there was only one.
Right. And you couldn't wait to go there and buy their barbecue rub and their stuff so you could have it and then eat that
stock
sandwich.
Up on it.
Yeah. And there was a grocery store there that you had never heard of.
And it was world famous.
And it's
kind of like it had its like own little cult following.
Yeah, exactly. And like you would go to the store that you loved, or you would go to the little place that you couldn't find. Yeah, where there's places you can't find anywhere. Mm-hmm. They're not all over. Sedona's like that. You want to go somewhere in Sedona, Arizona.
They don't allow corporate.
Right, there's no corporate.
Right.
So, I mean, I see the safety. Like, it's nice. You're driving across and you're like, God, I need this thing. It's a Target. Well, there's going to be a Target next some off-ramp. Right? There's that convenience. But there's no work involved in finding what you need. You just go. We've become, in my opinion, we've become a little disassociated from work in our culture today. So you know what I mean? So like it's this thing where it's like you can't find these places and you can't do this thing. So there's work involved. Well, if I know that there's a Vinyasa Flow class and I know that name of Core Power Yoga, or I know Bikram Yoga,
or wherever, any type of brand, franchise,
right? That's very popular because of television.
Right.
Back to Los Angeles and influenced. Right. Really, truly, television is it's so popular. Right. The yoga on TV.
Right, with commercials.
Right. And so I know what that is. So I'm going to go there because that's like Target.
Or no, it's Starbucks. They know, like, I wanted my Americano with a double shot.
And it's going to be made exactly the same.
Right. And they don't, but maybe next door there's like a coffee shop that has the best coffee in the whole world.
Owned by an Italian family.
Right. That's like super authentic. But no one cares.
Right.
It's so weird. Like, you could have...
It's work.
They
would have to work. They would have to go and step outside of what's comfortable. They're being trained. People are being trained. I mean, we don't have to work. We don't have to go look for it. We don't have to find it. It's right there. We have a remote control. You don't have to get up and change the channel.
Right. And And practicing Ashtanga and Iyengar
Is work.
actually takes learn. It takes time to learn.
And it's work.
And it's hard work. While these other places, you literally zone out. They only give postures that are, I don't like to use the word user-friendly, but that everyone can do, like a crescent lunge or a low lunge with the knee down. Nothing intricate at all. So they do them multiple times, so they feel like they're actually doing something, but in reality, nothing's gonna change in a long-term view. It's all those places are paths with no end.
Well, it's not even that the teachers aren't invested. It's that there's a script, and so you have to stick with the script.
There's nothing wrong with a script.
No, and it's okay. People get introduced,
right?
And if it sparks their curiosity, then maybe they'll go deeper. But you can take a lunge and turn it into work.
Sure, right? You can.
But there's another thing too. We never hold anything long enough to explore, right?
It's just a really interesting
microwave
thing.
Society.
Microwave, right?
Yeah.
I actually never use a microwave. I'm scared of them. They
freak
me out.
They're not the greatest thing, but I say the microwave society, when you're standing in front of a microwave and it's only going to take a minute to cook and you're going,
30 more seconds.
Oh gosh, I have things to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Microwave
Don't mind
society.
the fact that one time I fed 2 plants water out of the same faucet, one straight out of the faucet, and one microwaved, and the plant that I microwaved the water and let it cool down died, and the one straight, yes.
It did. After how long?
6 months.
Okay.
It didn't grow. It was just starting to not be happy, and it just died. And they were aloe vera plants.
Really?
Yeah. So just gave them a little bit. Yeah, I wanted to see.
Wow. Yeah. There's this one of my yoga students. He would eat like microwave food every day his whole life, and he's like 55 or something, and he got colon cancer.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, why do you? He's like, yeah, come over to my house. I have food. I'm like, you eat microwave lasagna, dude? Like, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe people actually do that.
Yeah.
I don't say anything to them. I just go, huh.
Yeah.
Like, you still use that? I can't believe it's something that people even do.
It's convenient.
But it's
no work.
So, you're just like, it's such a...
Think about it.
Like,
it's
you're just like eating radiation.
Work. You just put it in there and push the button. You don't have to.
But they don't even think about that. Like, they don't even want to think about that.
That's the same thing with yoga. They don't want to think about it. They don't want to know. They don't. They just want to disassociate and zone out. And I love them for that. And one day, maybe
I'm happy that they're all practicing.
Yeah.
Maybe next. We all have to start.
Because it's not wrong.
I love going somewhere.
I went to a booty yoga class once, and I had a blast. You know what I mean? It was probably way different for me like everybody was going really fast, but me, because I'm like, what is this doing? What is that doing? It's like exploring it. So I was kind of stuck on shaking only one part of my butt. But yeah, it was so fun, and I could see, because I'm like, what is the draw? What is this? It was fun. It took me out of my everyday life, out of the traffic, out of the people that are rude in those grocery stores, or out of the not getting what I want when I want it, and blah blah blah. And I went in there, and it was loud, crazy music, and I felt like I was in a dance club. And why do we go dancing, right? What do we go to a club for? To let go. So a lot of time, I'm not a teacher who invites you to let go, except for maybe of a muscle. Okay, I'm a teacher who asks you to explore and go in and get really uncomfortable. And if you're not shaking and ready to cry, you're not doing the work. And then I will push you harder.
Right.
That's me as a teacher. But I had a blast. Would I mimic that and teach a class like that? No. Why? Because it's not my practice.
Right.
But it was so fun. Right? It was so fun. So I see, I see
people
going.
Love goat yoga now.
Oh my gosh, I almost taught a goat yoga class, but I was like, I'm really afraid of having my face stepped on. I just couldn't. It was like every pose would have to be prone.
Someone invited me to teach a goat yoga class, and in the future, sure I will. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? He said that there's 75 people that turn up. So I mean, you're at least we could throw in some Patanjali Yoga Sutra or something in there in between, and maybe stir up someone's mind.
Yeah.
You don't know where you're going to meet people too.
It only takes a moment.
Yeah.
To change someone's perception and give them a little shift. and you don't even know what happens.
And we have to meet as many people as possible.
I've taught festivals in Ohio, and in the beginning I was like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to teach in a festival atmosphere, and people are, altered,
right?
Especially at festivals, yeah. And but I did, and I taught them, and I learned. They weren't for other people. They were for me. And I taught and I learned so much about myself and my own judgments and my own criticisms and my own lack. Right. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And like, I'm so grateful for the experience. So I teach a lot of things they're not my practice. Like I wouldn't go to a festival and do yoga, but I would go to festivals, but wouldn't go to yoga.
It's so funny. Like, I think festivals are a really interesting topic because I'm not a festive person at all. Mm-hmm. And I would go to a festival to teach yoga, mm-hmm. but I would never go to a festival for myself.
I love music, so I go
and
dance.
have fun.
Yeah.
See, I'm more of like an introspective artist.
I just like to go dance. That's my favorite thing, is to go dance. So if there's a moment that I can go dance,
you gotta get it.
I gotta go. Yeah. Especially because I don't know a lot of the bands, so there's always some weird gypsy bohemian vibe that comes through one player or maybe two, and you just get to lose yourself. You've never heard of that person before, so it's the coffee store next to Starbucks, right? And all of a sudden you're like, do you have a CD or anything? And you get music that you would have never known because it's not anywhere else.
That's the second time someone told me that today.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I have like CDs that like are pretty unique for me because I can't find them anywhere,
Right, CDs, they still exist.
I know, right? For people that play at festivals, like, they gotta because you have to find a place to download, if you're not.
Or you can't. My new computer doesn't even have a CD drive.
I know, it's crazy.
So like,
cars don't have them either.
Right.
Like, whatever.
I actually like getting CDs from the Goodwill.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Albums are back in style too, which is crazy. Radio, record players.
That's so weird to me. I think people should just let that stuff go.
Well, it has a different sound.
It's such an excuse. It's like you can just find anything you want on YouTube. Everything's just available.
I know, like a microwave.
But it's not like that because it's creating space.
And it also, true, but there's people that love to touch. So books, example, I can't let go of my books.
Really?
And people tell me all the time, you can just download them. Yeah, but I can't touch and feel the paper.
Yeah.
And I can't color and circle and write notes.
A book's a little bit different.
It's very personal. The music for some people is personal, and they like to have the...
I think people are just pack rats, and they need to get rid of their crap.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of things, so I don't even have a lot of things.
People get mad at me for this. I always say, throw away your records. Yeah. Or give them away, because they're just taking up space where you could get rid of that stuff and create new space in your life.
But it's personal. Especially people that have records. I know people that they have records. That one song has a scratch on that record, and that scratch matters to them.
So weird.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's just like collecting dust and garbage.
Not for everyone.
But I think collecting things in general is stupid.
I don't collect any.
Yeah.
Well, I collect people.
That's different. That's a different thing. I mean, collecting items like dust collectors on your shelf or something is. Or like collecting, unless you're going to make money from it or sell it in the future, I think collecting things is a waste of time.
I collect feathers.
But that's kind of as an aesthetic thing.
Yeah.
That's different. That has like almost like a shamanic quality. While like collecting like a stamp or something, or like people collect the weirdest stuff.
I know, isn't it great? I am like, I have shelves and they have things on them, but I have 7 adopted kids and 1 biological son, so I have 8 kids.
That live at your house?
Not anymore. They don't all live there, but I still have several of them there.
What?
And I adopted 7 drug-affected children from the state. Mm-hmm.
And how old are they now?
21, 20, 18.
How old were they when they came into you?
Different ages. So there was an 11-year-old, like a 9-year-old, 8-year-old, 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and a baby.
Oh my goodness.
And another,
And you raised them by yourself?
No. I raised them with Lyle.
Who's Lyle?
Lyle is the husband that I have had.
Okay.
One of my
One of
husband.
them. Okay.
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah, we're still legally married.
Okay.
We're really good friends.
Right on.
Yeah. Really
Wow,
good
that's
friends.
intense. So you adopted. You're like Angelina Jolie, adopting all the kids.
Yeah, but I wasn't famous. I don't have nannies.
Right.
Yeah.
So you actually did the
Yeah,
hard
I
work.
had to do it. Yeah.
How is that? Was there a lot of problems?
Yeah.
A lot of yelling and being,
No,
or just
a
like
lot of chaos and a lot of turmoil and heartache and not understanding and
a lot of dumb
habits.
stuff.
Yeah, bad habits and and then the issue with the bad habits is that they're all affected by alcohol or drugs, and so on some level there's a lack in process. Meant
Because they were born like that because of the parents.
Because it's different, yeah. Because like a couple with alcohol effect or heroin effect or on methamphetamines, and you don't really know what that's going to do to the psychological or the rational mind until they're older and they have to do things. So like the habits that they learn, it's like almost like some of them can't unplug from. They don't have the ability to discern,
to step back
so that is they don't understand consequence, and this is what they did when they were younger, and that's just the right way, and it doesn't really matter. Lack of empathy a lot in them, which is not just emotional. A lack of empathy comes from chemicals released in the body that help us to create a discomfort and a little bit of shame. So it's a down regulator, so you can calm down and sense outside of yourself to be able to have proprioception and know where you are in time and space, and then
so that has to do with chemicals in my mind and not just me.
Well, I mean, we have neurons and mirror neurons, and if we are lacking in the mirror neurons, we can't have empathy or compassion for another living being. It's not possible.
So people who don't have that, are they mentally ill?
A little bit.
And it's like a disorder. So like people who
But
are
some
really
of the most
mean and stuff, it's not
fabulous
really their fault.
neurosurgeons are completely void of empathy. That's why they can do what they do.
So they don't feel bad if they hurt someone's brain?
Well, no, they have like a God syndrome, so they don't feel guilt and shame the same way, so they can actually do a good. So fear can sometimes get in our way, right?
Well, even teaching yoga.
Right.
Like people ask me all the time, they're like, I took a 200-hour training, like I can't do it. I'm like, why?
Right.
I'm like, why? It's easy. It's fun.
Right.
It's easy. I think it's easy.
For you.
Yeah, it's super easy. It's just what I do.
But that's because they're not yogis. That's not their practice. That's not where they're at.
Right.
And some people are meant to, people ask me, why did I teach and not just keep taking classes? I said, well, I wasn't learning anything taking classes. I had to become a teacher.
To deepen your practice.
To deepen my practice and to connect to it on a level that I could, because the teachers didn't want to take time either if I did have a question, and it was only their perception, and I didn't understand what they were talking about. And I bought pose books and, yoga philosophy books, but it wasn't going anywhere until a teacher, amazing teachers, took me into places to educate me from their point of view, that it pushed me to learn more.
It's impossible to learn yoga fully from a book.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do
you
not
have to
believe
practice with people in real life.
And be corrected.
Mm-hmm. You have to.
Right.
Even though I practice by myself pretty much every morning alone, 90% of the time, I will take class maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah.
It sounds so crazy.
No, I don't take classes very often.
Yeah, and plus there's not that many people around here who I want to practice with. If I have to practice, I have to drive to Culver City to practice with my teacher Yorkin at Omkar 108 to do Mysore Ashtanga, or I'll take like an Iyengar class from a classical studio.
Right.
But I'm not going to go to like any place.
Right.
And I'd rather practice alone because it's more enjoyable.
I practice alone a lot. I have some people that teach that I'll invite to practice with me, and if they see something, maybe correct. But I'm a yoga snob. I'm a yoga snob.
Totally.
And I want to practice with people that I see having a strong practice. And
you have to be practicing longer than me, and you have to be better than me.
That's cool. I don't think that way, because I have, that's a good, I don't even know how many thousands of hours of practice now,
Yeah.
and thousands of hours of tea. I mean, I'm just waiting out my time to be an E500.
Oh, nice.
Because I've already surpassed the hours, like by far, because I taught every day, 3 to 4, 5, 6 times a day, and gave away all the time for free and had private clients, and it was like crazy. I mean, I just went for it all. And like, I've gone to some teachers that have been teaching way longer than I have even been practicing, and I get there and I'm like, they've lost their passion for their practice, and so I can't learn anything from them.
And some people learn faster and slower than other people too.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, and this is also, you guys have to remember, it doesn't matter how old you are.
No.
You can be a young, horrible teacher. You can be a young, wonderful teacher. You can be an old, great teacher, and you can be an old, terrible teacher. There's a lot of great young teachers, and there's a lot of horrible old teachers. We have to remember this. Just if someone has been teaching a long time, it doesn't mean they're good.
Right.
They're just been employed for a long time for some reason.
Well, what I tell all of the people that go into my yoga school is that don't ever not hold your seat as a teacher next to a teacher that's been teaching for 25 years. You went through what you went through, and you may walk out a prodigy. So don't ever not hold your seat as a teacher. And because a lot of times teachers get mechanical in their practice and are unwilling to look at somebody else's practice as valuable. And I don't think any of us mean to do it. I think that we just get locked in to our ways.
And other people, some people have been to Earth more times than others.
Yeah.
So age is irrelevant.
Yeah. Well, if I would have became a yoga teacher, I wanted to be a yoga teacher back when I was 18, 19. And everyone told me, oh, no, become an aerobics teacher. Yoga's not going to stick around.
Right.
Isn't that
Did you
funny?
do that?
No, well, I was like, no, I really want to become a yoga teacher. And they're like, you're not going to make any money. I mean, it's stupid. Don't do it. So I didn't do it. And I say that I didn't do it, which is great, because I was totally fit, complete athlete, a dancer. I had no physical problems at all. Had I become a yoga teacher, I would have been an arrogant
like,
yoga
why can't
teacher.
you do it? You
Yeah,
suck.
why are you not standing in a split?
Right.
That's ridiculous,
Right.
right? And I was
because it takes tremendous amounts of compassion to feel the people's pain and to understand pain.
Yeah.
If you don't understand pain, you can't teach yoga.
No, well, you can, but you may hurt someone.
Well, you won't be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so in my 40s, when I was like, I want to work in trauma in the body, and I want to become a yoga teacher, it was because I was in pain. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to not be in pain, and I knew that trauma release and yoga were the way for me to get into my body and be able to live more sustainably.
And mental turmoil counts as pain.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Emotional and mental, yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. I say, like, people talk about trauma yoga, and I said all yoga is trauma yoga.
We all have trauma. This is something we should talk about. Everyone has trauma that we have to be willing to let rise to the surface.
Yeah.
And the people who keep suppressing things will never grow. It's the truth.
Well, so my friend and I had this conversation. So things don't grow in the sun, they bloom. They grow at night. So your pain is kind of like dark, right? Or the shadow. And like trees, there's a lot of trees that if you put them directly, like baby trees, if you put them directly in the sunlight, they'll die, right? The bright place just expose them to everything. They can't bloom, they'll die, they'll burn out. So at night they grow, or in the shade they grow. And flowers grow in the evening and bloom in the daytime. And so it's the same thing with pain. If you can actually acknowledge your pain that we see as dark, right? That's a bad thing, that's dark. You can grow.
We have to acknowledge our pain.
Acknowledge our pain.
And
we don't have to camp out in it for
forever.
A lifetime. That's suffering, right? Sorrow and suffering. Like, sorrow is one thing, suffering is another. Suffering is where we just kind of move into the camp.
Well,
right?
we all suffer. It's a first
but
Buddhist vow.
Pain, acknowledging your pain and being in pain is a way of living. Being real with the pain and not making that your wound to work from. It's just like, yeah, I hurt. This sucks. I can't do anything
Just
about it.
take some CBD and THC tincture. Drink
do,
some kava.
Do some yoga.
Go get a massage. Take care of yourself. You know, there's some people I talk to and they've never gotten a massage before. And I'm like, wait, I have to get a massage weekly. I have to. I just feel horrible because I'm pretty much like a gymnast, you know?
Yeah.
And people have said like, oh, I've never gotten a massage. And I'm like,
I know, but they don't live in their bodies.
Do you think so? Like, men are super disconnected from themselves. I wouldn't say all men, but I would say
from their bodies.
Yes, most men are really disconnected from their bodies because they're. Why do you think so?
My honest,
straight
up forward. Okay, I think
why.
that men disassociate from their bodies because men are just think about it. So you're a little boy and you're sitting in class.
At school,
and you're a little boy, and all of a sudden you discover that you have a private part.
Mm-hmm. And
what happens?
You get a hard on?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happens then? Jimmy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's disgusting.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
Girls don't get hard-ons, but they do, but they don't, right? So it's not able to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
So
they just tuck it under their belt.
But do you see? So like you're at a very young age, it's like this thing. Like your body is going to expose you for a boy.
Yeah.
Yes. And so like you're like my body can expose me, so I'm just going to be big and tough and blow up, drop, and then get like this, and they lift the shoulder blades.
What's up, bro?
Instead of drop, right? They puffer fish, and then.
But that's all for strength and muscles is mostly for insecure men. Like I had a roommate who was a bodybuilder. He took steroids, and he was the most insecure person I ever met.
Well, yeah, but he took steroids too, and so he wasn't just building his body based on a desire and a need to be in touch with his body. He was working from.
And then he would get all upset sometimes, and he would be like sitting like all upset, but he'd be all buff. It was like so funny. He'd be all like, I could see the insecurity in the child underneath the bulk.
So I told someone once, I was like, so people want to get all like toned and ripped and right, like. And I said that that a contracted state in the body, a held contracted state in the body, is considered trauma to the body. The body does not want it.
Because it can't relax.
Right. It won't let go. So if you see little kids, they're like super strong and stuff, but they're you look at like Bruce Lee or look at some of these other famous like martial artists and stuff, or even like swimmers, like they don't necessarily, their tone, right? Their outer layer of muscle is sculpted. So you're sculpted, but they're not contracted. They didn't rip the muscle and
like Michael Phelps isn't like buff, but he's toned, long and toned, sinewy, right? That's the words.
And tone, right? So he's all cut, and the body sees the the outer surface is more like the girdle surface. So like if you're ripped or you're ripped here, like just tighter.
What's the girdle?
So like the girdle surface is kind of like if your inner muscles are functioning and activating the proper way.
The shoulder girdle.
Well, think about if your deltoid is overworked, it's going to bulk up.
That's what happens to me a lot.
So if your deltoid is worked appropriately, it's there and it's tone or cut. So it's holding its shape and ready to work, right? Where if it's too bulked up, it starts to go over the place of rotation for the humeral head, and then you can't really, and the ligaments shorten.
And it pulls out a socket.
And it starts to cause some issues, and then, or you don't have full rotation of your neck. That's what happens
to me.
Yeah, from overworking.
From doing too much pushing activities.
And think though, if you just had big bulky shoulders and built up there, how would your body really move? It would see that as trauma.
And you'd be like this.
You would see this as trauma.
You're like, hey guys.
We would be like this.
Yeah. Oh.
Right? Like, but the body actually wants to be relaxed, and the shoulders want to sit down and slightly internally rotated as long as the sternum is lifted. Like, what is the natural state? Watching children is a beautiful thing, or young people move. They're so flexible, jovial.
Sometimes, not anymore.
Well, not anymore because they don't move.
Well, no, because they eat bad food.
And they don't, I grew up, I'm an 80s baby. Okay. I'm a 70s and 80s baby, and I grew up on Taco Bell. And
but I think it was different then. I
Oh,
think
the
it
food
changed.
itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the little,
We were
because the high fructose corn syrup wasn't there yet, and I think it was before GMO.
The genetically modified, yeah.
Yeah, so I
well,
think
and there was less preservatives. It was more like you had to go through the stuff
I
faster.
think it was a different.
Because I tell
time.
people like I ate Taco Bell and McDonald's and all that stuff.
So did
all
I.
the
I ate that
time.
until I was 17.
Yeah, growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and like now it's like my kids like they're like sick immediately. They don't.
Right, they're like
We
tired.
eat a lot of real
lethargic.
food. Yeah, we eat real food. So, I don't get me wrong. I get my Big Mac moment.
Right on.
I am no way near perfect, which makes
we're
me
rebel
perfect.
Buddhas.
Yeah.
We're just humans.
Yeah.
Don't put so much. Don't try to be perfect.
Well, that's what's perfect is the imperfect. I think that individuality and uniqueness is what makes people perfect.
Right.
That because I'm the person that wishes that there was still the weird mom and pop, barbecue place in Texas, but now there's not. There's a Whole Foods and a McDonald's and not that those places are bad. I love Whole Foods and McDonald's and all those things. It's just that I miss
Right.
the space the spaces that only existed in that one place. You know what I mean? I remember if you had Vans, you lived in the valley.
Yeah, Vans were like a symbol.
You lived in the valley because you went to the van store. And then, kudos, they grew and grew and grew. And I love that they're
Vans.
so big now, right?
I think Vans are the coolest shoe
Vans
company
are
there.
the bomb. But I remember, like, there's a piece where it's like, gosh, man, I remember you could only get, like, my family was like, those are the coolest shoes. Can you buy us some and bring them to Louisiana? And I'm like, yeah. And we'd go get them Vans.
You couldn't get it.
No, you couldn't order them online.
I'm a eBay recycled refashion seller, and my best-selling items are Vans that I find at Salvation Army.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
fun.
love finding old Vans and Stefan Janowski Nikes, and I clean them up, and I get them for $5 or $10, and then I sell them for $20 with $13 shipping.
That's so cool.
That's one of my weird things I
cool.
like to do.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
But those are the things. I miss those things. We don't have that It's nostalgia. We don't have it anymore as much.
Yes, and Ashtanga and Iyengar are nostalgia yoga
Yeah,
now.
they're nostalgia.
It's like
Yeah.
we have to keep the tradition alive because it's going to die without us. Not without us, but like without people who are enthusiastic like us.
Who fall in love with it.
Right.
You have to fall in love with it. If you don't respect it and fall in love with it and have this feeling for it, then
The
it's
zeal and enthusiasm.
Yeah, then it's not going to continue.
Right.
Yeah.
I see so many teachers come and go. There was like 4 teachers at the studio who left in the last 6 months that I teach at Agora Power of Yoga, and I knew they were going to leave. Like when they just started, I'm like, you guys aren't going to last 6 months because if only 1 or 2 or 3 people come to your class,
You're going to give up.
you're going to give up.
Right.
But that's just the way it is. Classes
Oh.
are like 2 to 5, 6 people at the yoga studio. That's good.
Yeah.
Someone showed up. That's good.
Yeah.
It's not the gym where there's 50 people.
No.
It's not that.
So you flash back to this time a year ago, and I have 10 slots that I fill because I use a full panel for my students. I'm snobby. I don't make them go every other for the wall yoga. I use one whole panel and use
Okay.
all 3 locks all the way down.
In your class,
In my
when you're
class. In
teaching.
my studio, yes.
Okay.
And
In Ohio.
in Ohio, Seasons Yoga. And when you flash back a year ago, I was teaching 3 classes a week, right? In my studio for the wall, and 10 people per class with waiting list.
Really? Because you had
Yeah.
to sign up because of the props.
Because you had to sign up to get into a slot.
Because
so
there's
I kept
only so
opening
many-
up new classes because
Okay.
nobody was quitting.
Oh, cool.
People were continuing to come.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took a big break.
Why?
I took a break because my heart got broken, and it became difficult for me to understand why students didn't want to work, why they only wanted my permission to not work. They wanted my permission to just stand instead of activate. And I started to get a little...
What do you mean? They just wanted to do Supta Baddha Konasana the whole time?
No, they just wanted to stand like this and just stand there and stuff. And I'm like, you got to lift up your elbows. You got to turn your elbows.
You mean they weren't trying hard enough?
Well, they got tired. They were getting to places, and I still love them, and they did the best they could. And I realize that now. But I got a little judgy and was like, oh my gosh, this is like, if you don't want to work, then don't work with me. Go somewhere else. And I also was just having some of my own personal health issues, and I got a little mad at yoga and eating healthy. I got a little mad.
I've been there.
I said, I've done all these things, and now, I'm going to a specialist who's telling me I have to have stem cell replacement therapy. Like, what is this?
Right.
This is ridiculous.
Were you vegetarian?
I had been before.
Yeah.
I had been
That's what
vegetarian
happened
and
to me,
vegan
too.
for like 12, 15 years of my life.
Me
and
too,
I got
yeah.
all these vitamin deficiencies.
Me too. My body was falling apart before I started eating chicken again.
Yeah, and I had been eating meat for a long time again, but it was like my body had already gotten into a place of deficit that it couldn't get back from.
Unless you were like
and I didn't even, and I didn't even know I was in that deficit. I just thought, gosh, I get so fatigued.
Let's talk about this. This is a really, really important subject to talk about and touch on in yoga, is the healing medicinal qualities of meat in Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
That people don't want to talk about in yoga, and people are afraid to talk about the subject, so let's break it down.
Okay.
So the same thing happened to me. Last year, I was vegetarian / vegan since I was 18 to about 31, okay?
Yeah.
And in my early 20s, it worked out.
Yeah.
No problems. None. Until I was about 27, I really started having a lot of muscle issues, neck issues, pain in my shoulder and my bicep. I was tired all the time. Even though I did wake up really early in the morning and I did teach a lot, I still should have had more energy.
Right.
I got so skinny. Now I weigh 145 pounds. I'm 32 years old. Back then, and like when I was 26, I weighed 120 pounds.
Yeah.
And I'm 5'10".
Yeah.
I was so skinny and gross. Then my eye got hurt because I was putting someone in a Marichiasana A adjustment. I was squeezing their hands together, and my eyeball popped. And my eye got really, really hurt. So then I went to the Chinese doctor and the acupuncturist, this guy, Dr. Hugh, great doctor, in Moore Park. And he goes, "You vegetarian? You need to drink egg 6 times a day." I go, "What?" He goes, "Take miso soup powder, take eggs, crack them, boil it, stir it up, and drink it 6 times a day." I'm like, I didn't understand why. I'm like, why? He goes, no, you need it. You have cold wind. He's like, eat chicken and beef. I'm like, that's gross. But then I started doing it. I gained 20 pounds in like 2 months. All my eye pain went away. My muscle pain got better. I actually started having muscle on my body. And I don't care about... So this is a touchy subject. So ahimsa, non-violence, we have to remember that non-violence against ourselves. So if you're purely vegan and your body is getting hurt because of the way you're treating it, you are actually not practicing yoga. You're being violent to yourself. Right. So you're not practicing ahimsa. So
it doesn't say don't go fishing, and it doesn't say don't eat the rabbit or the squirrel or don't hunt. It doesn't say that at all. It says non-violence.
Right, non-violence.
And violence is violence. It doesn't mean that you can't defend yourself, and it doesn't mean that you can't put a boundary, and it doesn't mean that you can't say no. Non-violence. What is violent? Violent is a place of anger that has become an aptitude toward harm, and it is a thing of taking one's power for self-gratification, in a sense. Like if you're a violent person, you're being a violent person to yourself, or even a neglectful person to yourself, which is the food thing. But violence, it never says don't fish.
But even taking an egg, what are they made for? They're made for you to eat.
Right.
They really are.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't say that we can't eat meat. That's not. It's a personal. People take a thing, and if you look at the word non-violence, like they've changed it even now more so to do no harm, and that's not what it says. It says
Non-violent.
non-violent.
Right.
Non-violent act in thought, deed, or action. What is violence? So it's like it doesn't. That's where I think a lot of people. Well, I don't do this or I don't do that because it's being violent. Well, I am going to eat the chicken because if I don't eat the chicken, my body can't produce
And
enough
I
white
can't
blood cells.
help all the students who I
Right.
have to teach when I've already taught 3 classes today and it's only 2:00 and I have to go teach again in Ventura at
Right.
4:30. Like the people, okay, the yogis in the past, they couldn't go anywhere because they couldn't drive. There was no cars, there was no airplanes, there was no roads. If you wanted to go somewhere in the past, you had to walk there.
Right.
This is not the past.
Right.
We're in the future. So we need so much energy to work.
Well, a lot of the old stuff too.
The
I mean,
scriptures.
you're not trying to draw water in through your penis and hold it, and that's in a practice.
No,
at one
I actually
time.
try to do it with liquid mercury.
You did.
No, I'm kidding. But actually,
So, but do you see what I'm saying? Some of the things that we've outgrown. There's a belief. Like, you go back even to like back.
they were. They were cutting their tongue so they could stick it higher up their nose.
right.
Like doing
So,
crazy shit that we don't even know works.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think that it's I myself did not eat meat. I did not. I became a vegan.
I did it for 10 years, 12
I
years.
collapsed. I got a cold.
Yeah.
I couldn't fight off the cold. It turned into an infection. Then I'm taking antibiotics.
Right.
Okay, well, I'm taking antibiotics. Okay, that's worse for me than eating a steak.
Mm-hmm.
My body's being broken down, and then I keep getting sick, and I just collapse. And they're like, "You're iron deficient. You're B12 deficient. You're this deficient." It's like, what do you mean?
Well, even the
But
Dalai Lama eats steak when he's
Right.
when he's traveling out of India.
Right.
And that's the Dalai Lama, guys. Like that's the holiest person in the world, pretty much.
I think if you listen to your body,
Yes.
and like if your body is saying, if you're open, I think if you listen to your body will say, vegetables. You need vegetables. You're being drawn to greens. This is one of the things, the way I teach my kids, like to try to follow the food. Like if you're feeling like greens are calling you, then eat the greens. Drink the green. Go green.
I drink a green juice every single day.
Yeah, and if you're feeling drawn to the yellow foods, you eat the yellow foods. If you're being drawn to the red foods, you're being drawn, you know what I mean? If you walk by the meat counter and
It's saying, yes,
and
eat
that
me.
says come eat me, you eat it.
Yeah.
But it's knowing how to prepare it. It's not over preparing it or under preparing it, and it's knowing, like that you're eating your food is your medicine for you. And
It is
it's
pure
your
medicine.
nourishment.
Yeah.
And last night I was like, I just want a rotisserie chicken. That's what I wanted. I
And you
didn't
were
want to
craving
cook.
it.
Well, I wanted chicken.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like cooking. I didn't feel like going out and getting, so it was like, I just want a rotisserie chicken and tomato soup. That's what I wanted. And they don't even they don't go together. They absolutely were fantastic.
to
I
me.
ate pumpkin seeds. I had my pumpkin seeds. I had my chicken. And I had my tomato soup. And my body needed those things because I listened. And so I got what I needed. I wasn't opposed. If I would be like, no, I'm not going to eat that protein. Some people can get their protein from plants and some people cannot. It's all dependent on your lower
blood.
intestine.
And
Well,
your
and
blood
your blood
type.
type, yeah.
And I'm
And your-
so
I'm
you
A
need it.
negative.
Okay. What's that mean?
There's like 5% of the population in the world are A
Really?
negative. Yeah.
So what does that entail?
It gives me permission to eat meat.
Okay.
And lots of fish and chicken and, like lesser steaks. Not a lot of nuts, but a lot of seeds. And, I was having a conversation with my friend today about seeds and nuts get put in the same category and are not the same thing.
Really? I didn't know
Like,
that.
think about it. You're eating a cashew, like the nuts, and then you're eating like pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds.
They're way smaller.
Right. But people will be like, oh, yeah, because they kind of
Throw
they're
them
in
together.
Yeah, throw them all in the same mindset. Like, I don't eat a lot of nuts, but I eat a lot of seeds.
Interesting.
Seeds
take a lot to fill you up.
Yes, but they're so good.
Are they? I used to
Yeah.
love eating sunflower seeds in the car, but then I find it addicting, and then it just got messy.
Or you just make milks out of them, but I like eating them.
So you're doing a teacher training soon,
I am doing, it starts on the 18th, yep,
this month,
this month.
in
Ohio.
Ohio, in Athens, Ohio.
Yep, full karma training.
Tell me about the training.
So I had the training on the books, and I was going to be charging my regular I'm $3,000 per person, 27 if you pay after such a date,
Okay.
25 if you pay before.
Right.
You have till the end
You've
of
done
the
it
training.
before?
Yes.
How many trainings have you led?
I have trained privately, probably
One-on-one?
Yes, I did only private teacher
Really?
trainings. Yeah.
Wow, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, well, some of my students are in fields they didn't want to come. They don't have to come be around people. Like, I have permission to name one. My one student says she's a psychic medium on TV, and she trained with me to become a yoga teacher.
Okay.
Medium Sarah Lamos. She's on TV shows and stuff.
Cool.
And so she came and did her private training with me. And but I've had other
That
private
makes it easier
students.
for certain people with
It
time.
does. And to their time. So we may work for a week. We may work for a month.
That's what I
we may
mean.
work, yeah. So
When they have their time.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then I did a class of I had trained 14 people. My trainings take 7 to 8 months.
Okay.
Don't shove them every weekend. They get a lot of written work and reading work. And then they can practice anywhere, but they get a lot of, I break down the asanas and why we do what we do. And so it's a little different than just learning the sun. I will not teach the sun salute. You can learn it on your
Really?
own. Absolutely.
Why
You
not?
will learn it on your own. Because I will break it down for you afterwards. I will ask you why your hands are over your head and where your shoulders are supposed to be and what's going on with your femoral head and where's your acetabulum and where's the sacrum. But because you can go anywhere and get that, but you can't get the information that I'm giving to you anywhere. 'Cause
Okay.
it's,
There's like no sun salute in Iyengar anyways. They don't even do it.
well, they do.
Not really.
They do at hatha. They hold. I mean, they do.
Right, but it's not like they do
no,
like
because you break down a pose. You want to
5 sun salutes. They don't even do that. Like in the
No.
class I took the other day, I'm not hating on it. I'm like, oh, this is great. I don't have to put any weight in my hands.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm always like, John, upper dog, jump.
Right, but here's the thing: you
Yeah.
practice Iyengar enough, you can do any arm balancing pose.
Well, that's the
period.
thing.
And you don't even practice that pose to do it.
It seems like at Iyengar, they're like, okay, let's do rope 1, cobra, let's do triangle and half moon with the wall, and now let's do something different. So
Right.
it seems like they have like their little warm-ups they do, like just the basic stuff, and then they do like one peak pose that day, whether it's like Ardha Chandrasana with the wall or like Warrior 3 or something, and then you'll do shoulder stand with a chair, and then rope headstand, and then Supta Baddha Konasana, and call it a day.
Yeah.
While Ashtanga is like side A, side B, triangle, reverse triangle,
Right.
sideways single. Like blah blah blah. I could go the whole thing, and that's it. Every single day, we're just boom, primary series, second series. But Iyengar is like, what do you want to do today? Should we do rope headstand for 20 minutes? Should we do forward bend for 5 minutes? Like,
Yeah.
what do you want to? It's like, it's a lot easier for people who can't put weight into their arms.
Right.
That's
well,
what
you
I
don't.
can-
There's for every single pose, there's a million ways to practice it, and not only one reason you practice that pose. Maybe one day you're learning to do a handstand, and you're learning it for your forearms and your lower legs, and that's all you're supposed to be concentrating on, not the things in between.
Right.
So when you can find that place to connect to the forearms and the lower legs, all of a sudden the places in between might become easier. Or maybe they want you to find your pointer finger mound in the handstand, and if you can't keep
The
it,
mound of the pointer finger, right here, right?
right,
The mounds of the big toe. These are such a
Huge.
Iyengar words. Like in Ashtanga, we don't use the word mound of the big toe or mound of the finger. Like those
Right.
aren't even there.
Well, what's crazy is if you don't press down through the big toe mound
Yeah.
and the pointer finger mound, you are in your joint.
And it just is compressing a joint.
Right. You
Yeah.
cannot get full flexion of the wrists or the
Well,
ankles.
they do downward dog against the wall like this in Iyengar. And you're pushing.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I saw. We learned in the class.
Downward dog like that. I wonder what.
Against
oh,
the
well,
wall.
that's using flexion for your wrist.
And it's also
And
just
then in
putting
Europe-
They do it like
With
that.
your fingers closer.
That's how they did it.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Just different variations. There's like so
Because
many
then you can
variations.
find your pointer finger mound easier. If you're farther away, right, it's harder to push down. So it's just a harder variation. But
Yeah, I feel that.
pointer finger mound is so
This
vital.
is everything. Yeah, this is like in every this movement
Tips
of
of
like
the fingers.
right there. This is I get strained in here sometimes because I
Yeah.
use it too much. So I try to
If you-
move into the other areas of the hand.
Well, not only that, but if you look, if your hand is here and you bring your thumb a little closer, it's going to release your wrist.
Oh,
okay?
so my thumb's
So
too wide.
don't put your thumb so far away. Just try that for a little bit. But also, if you press down into the pointer finger tip, what happens to the mound?
It goes up.
It goes down.
It goes, oh, so I need to push through the tips of the finger.
So it's Spider-Man fingers.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
You
like a
press
handstand
down,
is like
and
this.
then it immediately takes your pointer finger. See, like if I press, so if I'm just pushing here, I'm here. If I press my fingertip down, I automatically have to contract. But so, anyways, the yoga training, I had two people who were full students, and then one person that was. I always offer scholarships. Scholarships mean that I'm going to give you the training for just the price of the book, my manual that I wrote, and my, and the mat that I want you to use, which is Lifeform mats. They're my favorite all-time mats. And then, so you pay me basically for those if you're in a scholarship, and because you get them in the training.
Okay.
And then, but I woke up one morning and said I have to give away the whole training. Because I've been in lack, not enough time, not enough practice, not enough food, not enough water, not enough money, not enough this, not enough whatever. Everything was like, oh, I'm running late. I'm going to be, you know what I mean? I was just in this space where it was like deficit or lack or not enough. And I was like, I have plenty. So I'm doing a full karma training, and now I have 9 students.
Wow.
I have 5 men.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I have 4 women. Pretty excited. And
all ages?
All ages.
That's what's so great about yoga.
From the 20s to the 70s.
It's amazing.
Isn't that phenomenal?
Is for every single person, and just people who haven't found it yet. And I'm like, oh, I feel so bad. You don't know yet. It's so enjoyable.
I always say like yoga tricked me, but it took a long time. Like, because I wanted to just go hang out with my girlfriends and do yoga, and then go to sushi and say, "Where'd you come from?" Yoga.
Yoga.
Oh,
you had to say it like that.
Yoga. And then it tricked me. It like totally got me.
Right?
Absolutely.
I was an angry skateboarder.
Yeah.
And now I'm a peaceful warrior.
Yeah. And
Seriously.
yoga got you.
I'm gonna make a new shirt. I came up with this idea when I was driving today. It's just gonna say "Peace Warrior" with like a peace sign in blood. I think it's gonna be dripping, and it's just gonna say "Little Rebel Boot" in the corner.
I like that.
I think that'd be cool, right?
I like
Peace
that.
Warrior, not a peaceful warrior.
Peace
Because there's a Peaceful Warrior book by
Right.
Dan Millman. That book is actually an amazing book. You guys, if you haven't read The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, it has allowed me to transition from skateboarding to be a yoga teacher a lot more smoothly because of one quote. It says,
one?
"I'm finally free from the important goals of my past." Right? It's a great quote.
I love that.
I'm
oh
finally
my goodness.
free from all the important goals of my past. I've been free from them for about 10 years.
That makes me want to cry.
It's a great goal.
That's so good.
Right? Oh. Okay, come on in.
Mm-hmm.
Now we should put a sign on the door. Filming in session, right?
Yeah.
So the training, how long is the training for?
It will end in March.
So it's a long time.
All my trainings are a long time unless they're private yoga teacher trainings.
And then it's like a Saturday, Sunday, all day type of thing?
No, it's intensive weekends. Yeah, it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And like this, every training, there's usually a couple people that end up staying with me on the weekends. And this training, a lot of people are asking to stay on the weekends.
At your house? What's at your house?
My personal private yoga studio is added on to the end of my home.
Oh wow, just like
But
Pataki Joyce or Iyengar.
Yeah, and it's a full blown Iyengar type studio. It has
Oh,
all
cool.
the props. It's not an
So it's
Iyengar
your
studio.
studio.
It's my studio. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And I have every wall is a wall.
How many walls do you have?
I have 11 wall setups.
Wow.
I have 20 Pruna chairs. I have 20 bolsters. I have 20 straps for.
That's a big investment.
Yeah, it's $50,000 studio.
Just to get the studio up and running.
Just to build the studio and put all the props in it.
My rope wall costs about $100 to build.
Mine's
the real thing.
Yes, mine is from Brian Legier.
Okay.
So
that's like, I don't know what that is.
He's one of Iyengar's students.
Mm.
He has his training facility in Oregon now, but he originally had wall yoga here in the Valley, in Burbank, and was a Iyengar teacher and assessor.
I think wall yoga is my second favorite type of yoga.
Oh my gosh, it's my all-time favorite.
It is so fun, and so I consider Iyengar yoga to be the most enjoyable yoga. Ashtanga is not that enjoyable.
It's hard.
It's just hard.
It's hard. Yeah.
Every morning I wake up and I do first, second, or third series, and I go halfway through. I'm like, why do I do this?
Yeah. It's hard.
Dropping back, doing my thing. After, I feel great.
Right.
In Shavasana, it's the deepest Shavasana you can ever get. It's almost like a drug.
Right.
Like Ashtanga Shavasana is a drug.
Right.
It's like a drug state. I'm like, bleh, like I lay there and I'm gone. But then when I take Iyengar, I'm just like, I kind of relax at the end, like, because it's more subtle.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Iyengar is you may not do a full series of poses, but when you get into several of the places before your peak pose, you're being asked to go in usually and activate something. Try to find rotating your elbow or try to find
the head of the femur bone into the hip socket.
Yes. How do you know that your femoral head is into the acetabulum and you're letting go of the glute? You know what I mean? And can you activate the glute? And are you able to feel the hamstring being lengthened? And
right.
And then by the time you get to the peak pose, you can hold that pose. Not only experiment with it, like just get up with your foot or something, or come on. You're just like, that pose is meditative.
Right.
Because you've done this exploration and all of a sudden you're like sitting on top of the mountain in this pose, like, oh yeah, right? And then
in comfort and ease.
Yeah, in comfort and ease with buoyancy.
Sthira Sukhamasana.
Breathing, right?
Comfort and ease in the posture is yoga.
Breathing.
Yeah.
I will find myself in my peak pose in my own practice not breathing,
What, really?
but thinking.
Well, you gotta, at
And
least
then
you're
I'm
noticing.
like, oh, and I go all the way back to the beginning, and then maybe I don't do the peak pose. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not about the peak pose;
So
it's
you
about the exploration.
Practice a lot by yourself.
I practice by myself a lot. Yes.
Don't you find that? I think practicing by yourself, if you're a yoga teacher. Oh crap! We can still keep talking. I think it ran out of
Space,
but we can keep going.
Okay.
Because it's still on here.
Okay.
So I'll just put a technical difficulty thing, and then we'll keep going.
Okay.
We'll just keep going for a little bit longer.
Okay.
It's still in here. Practicing by yourself as a yoga teacher is the most important thing to do because it allows you to feel and to come up with the words on your own.
Yes.
Yes. And I don't understand yoga teachers who only take class. Only like class, it makes absolutely no sense.
No,
to
because
me.
you have to have your own practice.
You have to.
What I tell everyone is you can go anywhere to practice, but you teach your practice, not what you're working on in the moment, right? But what you have worked through.
Right.
So let's say you're trying to learn how to hold, just warrior, let's say Virabhadrasana 2. You're just doing warrior 2 and you're trying to learn it in yourself. If you're not exploring it in your own practice, you shouldn't teach it.
Right, like someone like, for example, like, oh, I hear people like, oh, we did Vashisthasana today, side plank. I'm like, I don't really teach anyone side plank. First of all, I practice side plank maybe like once or twice, 3 times a month.
Yeah.
Literally, and when I practice third series. I struggle with side plank.
Right.
If I'm struggling with side plank,
You're not going to teach it.
no one else should be doing side plank.
That's what I say.
And not to be egotistical or anything, but my yoga's, I've been practicing a
yeah.
lot. I've been practicing for a long time.
I've seen your poses.
You've
and
seen my photos and my videos.
Yeah, it takes a lot to get into that.
Right.
And
And I think people are teaching postures like side crow and things that are totally unnecessary. People need to be extremely proficient in side angle and triangle and the basics before they even are allowed to do anything.
Because you can mess up your whole pelvis.
And your neck.
And your neck and shoulders.
Yes.
But the thing is I was taught crow pose because I was taught a trick to get into it.
With the head on the ground with the bolster?
No, I had my hands down and then I pinched. I was taught to pinch my arms with my legs. Well, I looked really cool.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And I didn't know I was doing it wrong.
Yeah.
but I was taught to do that, and I felt super confident. And I did it all over the place, and then I started noticing my arms were constantly hurting.
Yeah.
My neck was starting to bother me. I mean, I don't know how many pictures I took in this pose before I was a yoga teacher, you know, and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, it was like I learned, and I was like, I will not do that pose. And I learned that you have to actually be resting your, you know,
you want to just
on your
create the shelf,
in your armpits,
create the shelf,
right?
Yeah.
So you're not trying to squish. But not only that, I realized that with my torso, crow is not a happy pose for me because my torso is longer than my femurs.
Well, maybe you just need to do it with a really bent elbow.
Well, right, but I have to. It's a different crow, right? Nobody told me.
It's a little crow, not
nobody told me
crazy
that
crow.
I was completely hunching my back and creating compression in my spine and neck. So I was like unable to come in and lift my chest because I couldn't. Because this here, I can do this no problem.
Yeah.
But even sitting, I have to round. I have 34 vertebrae.
What?
Yeah. And so I have a pseudo vertebrae, so my sacrum didn't fully fuse. So I can't do what other people can do in their body.
So camel pose is hard?
No, it's super easy for me.
Okay, so back bending is easy.
Back bending is easy, but forward working, I will round more because I can't lock my joint down here. So your sacrum is usually fused. Well, mine is still mobile and has space. So if I try to lock it, I can hurt myself. And that's how a lot of people get the extension in the spine. So I can't get extension as much from balancing on any part. I have to do my extension from hanging upside down or from standing straight up or complete forward folds, you know what I'm saying, or in my prone or supine poses, because the poses that people can use for arm balancing and get extension of their spine, I'm not getting extension because I have that pseudo. I tell some people it's really important to know your back.
Right.
I didn't know that I had a pseudo 6 until I went in and got an x-ray of my back.
That's interesting. That's so weird. You could have that your whole life, not even know.
I didn't know until a couple years ago.
Wow.
And it changed everything. It gave me permission, thank goodness, to not
chill out.
To calm down.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to do that pose, because that's a baby pose. That's a baby pose to me. Like
crow.
Yeah. Like, are you kidding?
Just a loser with a crow.
Whatever. Let's have a murder.
You can't even do lotus crow.
Yeah. Like what? What's wrong with you? Yeah.
Yeah. So funny. We really, after pushing myself in Ashtanga for about 10 years, literally, it's the 10-year mark is coming up in the next month or two. I'm so, like, in the beginning, I'm like, I need to learn second and third series. But it was almost like a bodybuilder being insecure with themselves and needing to get strong muscles. It's like, I can't love myself until my back bend's perfect.
Right.
Like, at least I can see these things now. Like, I was like thinking that I would love myself more or something would happen. I don't even know what I was thinking when I was wanting to be so perfect in practice or like getting to the next level.
Yeah.
And now that
the hierarchy of yoga.
Now that I've gotten to do all the crazy advanced Rishi postures, I'm super happy with doing the primary series in Janu Sirsasana and Paschimottanasana and forward fold. Like, I don't care so much.
Well, that's the thing. I kept hearing from older yoga teachers that their practice looks very different than when they first started. And I'm like, I don't even understand you until I can do every one of those crazy poses. I don't care. Like, those are what I'm chasing.
Right.
And then one day I was like, I'm really grateful. I feel like I've been teaching yoga for a lifetime. But I came into becoming a yoga teacher older, even though I did it forever. And I also became a trauma provider first. So working in the body with trauma was like understanding that.
It was second nature.
That's my primary function. If I see something in yoga that's creating trauma in the body, I'm backing away.
You're like, stop.
Yes, stop.
Yeah, that's what I see now too.
Yeah.
And a lot of students, when you tell them that, they don't understand.
No, because you're programming your breath. You're like, I tell people, if you're not breathing or you're having choppy breath, what you're creating is a very bad habit in your body.
In the nervous system.
And your body will then move into a movement like that and recognize it as trauma. And you are going to go into fight, flight, or freeze, food or fuck. Right? People leave those out, but they exist, right? So if you're creating trauma in the body because you're not able to breathe, I mean, no matter what, your mind is going to go into a panic if it's having choppy. I mean, that's the nervous system.
One of my favorite things to say, that Krishnamacharya quote from his book from 1938, Yoga Makananda, the breath should be smooth like the pouring of oil.
Yeah.
So the breath is regulated. If the breath is an inhale for 5 seconds, the exhale is 5 seconds.
Yeah.
The breath
and
is smooth is even.
And there's a pause in between.
Yes.
When people are not pausing, they're
pause
not resetting
can
anything.
be the most still place.
Right.
That's when the fluctuations of the mind stop. So in pranayama, when you do external or internal retention, that's when there's the most still part of the mind.
There's this thing when I was learning to practice, the inhale is the place of like moving, right? Moving into the pose or whatever you're doing. You inhale, you're lifting the sternum, you're dropping the shoulder blades, whatever it is. If you're going to twist or you're going to lift off for a balancing pose in the exhale, it's because you're there on the inhale. You never lift off if you're not there on the exhale. So if you can't buoyantly move into the balancing pose because everything is locked into where it needs to be and the sternum is in the right place, whether it's towards your spine or away, you know what I'm saying? If the navel isn't in alignment with the pubis symphysis to wherever it needs to be, which is, toward one another away, you never lift off. You never go into the balance on the exhale. You renegotiate for the next inhale. So the exhale was always the place that you then were holding the pose, and the pause in between was the place that you made that discernment. Right? And you even made the discernment of whether or not you were going to let go of the pose and come out of it on the next inhale in the pause after the exhale. See what I'm saying? So like the exhale was complete, like I'm just here. You know what I mean? And the inhale is working toward God and the exhale is standing in front of God. That was another way it was put.
I like it.
Because who do we meet when we stop breathing, right?
True.
So the inhale is the space before, right? And the exhale is meeting God. And in Shavasana, you're supposed to be able to transmute with the entire universe, right? Let go, reboot everything.
Well, you're like
the breath
in a
is
cosmic...
and the breath is so non-important in it. It just becomes
still.
It becomes barely anything.
Like you're barely breathing at
A
all.
real Shavasana is like you're like in this such a little breath, like there's no movement. All the movement is happening around and you're really just a part of it. You're not really...
Sometimes in Shavasana, like if I have the time, like I'll work my ass off in my yoga. I'll practice for like 1 or 2 hours, do all the breathing and all this stuff, and then I smoke weed and I take Shavasana with headphones on with the Om sound, bundle myself up with blankets and bolsters, supported Shavasana.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens.
Yeah.
It's seriously psychedelic.
Yeah.
Yoga is so psychedelic in Shavasana.
Sandbags in Shavasana.
Oh, it's good on the thigh bones and the
God, everywhere. Put them across.
I need to get that for my shoulder.
Yes.
Pull the shoulder down.
Across your shoulders,
Yeah.
on your sternum going in this direction, across the top of the hips, the iliac crest, across the upper thigh, under the knee and right above the ankles. And then if you can get someone to sandbag your arms and promise they'll unsandbag you.
Yeah.
We'll just say I've been sandbagged and left.
What about a tea bag?
Exactly. Shh, can't talk about that. And but you're laying and you're just like, whoa. And especially if you have a mask.
Yeah.
Some weight
Actually,
on
I don't
your
like
eyes.
eye pillows because they make my optic nerve feel weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't like the pressure on my left eye because it makes
that
it,
injury.
Yeah, it feels weird. So
fun.
I used to like eye pillows, but then when I come out of it, my eyes are blurry for too long.
Mine are blurry too.
Yeah.
Mine are blurry too. I think I move my eye. So when you move your eyes around, you're working the muscle. And I think that when I have pillows on my eyes, sometimes, not every time, I move them around a lot because it's so dark. And I think that's why I'm blurry. Yeah.
I'm like, this is weird. I just won't use eye pillow anymore.
Yeah.
I'll maybe put like just like a little
cloth,
blanket or something. Like nothing. I don't want pressure
heavy,
on my eye. Yeah. But I used to like that, but now I don't.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about before we close out?
No, I'm just really grateful. This was super fun.
Yay. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, and I'm gonna give you a little Rebel Buddha air freshener.
Yay! Love air fresheners.
You can put it on your motorcycle.
Oh my god! Or in my Jeep.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding about the motorcycle. Well, give me a hug.
Oh my gosh.
Yay.
I love you.
Thank you. Let's see you up on that wall, huh? Show me something. Teach me
Okay.